How's it going, my confident bakers? Hope you're having a fine day so far. Welcome back to another video. Today I'll show you how to make sweet curd cheese buns. So let's get in the kitchen and see how they're done. Curd cheese is a super common ingredient in Eastern Europe. I used to eat this on a daily basis, and it's also very common to use it in baking, both in sweet and savory applications. Sometimes it's called cottage cheese, but it's not quite like the cottage cheese that they sell here in the UK. Curd cheese is a lot drier and crumblier, and most of the time it needs to be mixed with something else. But when it's used in the right way, just as in this recipe, it makes for a delicious treat. So here's what we need to make these little beauties. Some white bread flour, milk, an egg, yeast, salt, butter and sugar for the dough. For the filling, I'll use some crumbly curd cheese, raisins, sugar, vanilla and an egg white to keep it all together. The leftover egg yolk will be mixed with a teaspoon of milk to make a glaze for the dough. The possibilities of customization in this recipe are endless. You can mix the curd cheese with pretty much anything you want. Sweet or savory, it's up to you. You can remove the sugar from the whole recipe. Replace the raisins with some crispy bacon perhaps, and add in some herbs too. I'll leave you to ponder those decisions. Okay, when it comes to the equipment, we'll need a baking tray, some baking paper, a bowl, scales, a dough scraper, temperature probe and a brush. The piping bag is not mandatory. You can just as well spoon the filling onto the dough. Right, let's get on with it. Let's start by making the filling. Pour the egg white in a bowl, add the sugar, the vanilla. You can use vanilla paste, vanilla syrup or vanilla essence, up to you. But the paste is definitely the tastiest one. You could also add in some lemon zest here. Okay, after mixing the egg white, sugar and vanilla, add the raisins, or any dried fruit that you prefer for that matter, and the curd cheese. Break it up first and then mix it in. You should be able to find this type of curd cheese in pretty much any Eastern European shop. I got mine from the Eastern European section in my local supermarket. The fat content doesn't matter. Use whichever one you want to use. Just make sure that you are picking up the crumbly curd cheese, not the runny cottage cheese, because that will be too wet for this recipe. Alright, once the filling has been mixed, place it in a piping bag or leave it in a bowl and place it in the fridge for later. Now let's move on to mixing the dough. And all starts with temperature control. I'm using warm milk because my kitchen is a little bit cool. We don't want the dough to take too long to rise. A final dough temperature of around 24 to 25 degrees Celsius will be good for this. That's 75 to 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, pour the milk in a large bowl, add the yeast, the salt, the sugar, the melted butter and drop the egg in there too. Then give everything a good mix. You want to dissolve the salt, the yeast and the sugar. And then finally add the flour and grab your dough scraper and mix it to a dough. It might be slightly sticky to begin with, but that's normal. It becomes like that when we use egg, milk, sugar and butter all at once. Even though the hydration is quite low, the dough can become quite sticky because of those ingredients. But luckily, we don't have to knead this dough, so we won't be making a big mess here. A single fold will be sufficient for smoothing it out and making it easy to handle. Okay, after you've mixed up the dough, wet your hands with water and give it a fold. Shape it into a nice round ball, place it in a clean bowl and give it a quick temperature check. At this temperature, bulk fermentation will take around 2 hours and it will be punctuated by one fold halfway through. So let's cover up the dough, let's leave it to rise for 1 hour and then give it one fold. Folding has numerous benefits, which I've spoken about many times. It's always good to give your dough at least one fold, no matter what type of bread you're making. You can find full videos about this topic in the Principles Baking playlist and in the Steps of Baking playlist. To perform the fold, wet your hands with water, release the dough from the bowl, lift it up in your hands, then fold the sides down and push them back up into the middle. As you fold it, go around in a circle. Imagine that you're folding it on the table, but upside down. I prefer this method because it saves me from cleaning the table an extra time. After performing the fold, place the dough back into the bowl, cover it up, leave it to rise for another hour to finish off bulk fermentation. And it should already become nice and puffy now. The next step is to weigh our dough and then divide it into 6 equal pieces. That will make decently sized buns. But if you'd like to make smaller ones, you can divide the dough into 8, or you could make 4 giant ones instead. But no matter how many you decide to do, after dividing, we need to shape them into round balls. So take a piece of dough, flatten it out, fold the edge over the middle whilst go around in a circle to reach point where you started. Then flip it smooth side up, tighten it against stable, and that's your dough ball done. And if you are not a big fan of folding your dough up in the air like I demonstrated earlier, you can use this method instead. Okay, after shaping them, dip the bottom of each dough ball in flour and then arrange them on your baking tray lined with non-stick baking paper. The flour will prevent them from sticking to the paper during the final proof, which will make the job of final shaping much easier and less messy. Now we can cover them up and leave them for the final proof, which should take about an hour. If your kitchen is cooler, it may take you longer. You can always place them in a warm area to speed up the process. Towards the very end of the final proof, switch on the oven to 160 degrees Celsius, 320 Fahrenheit, fan on. If your oven doesn't have a fan, go for 180 Celsius or 355 Fahrenheit. Get the dough balls are puffed up nicely, it's final shaping time. Dust your hands with flour, pick up a dough ball, and then gently and gradually stretch it out, creating a thick edge and a thin membrane in the middle. Push your thumbs into the center first, and then start pulling the dough and turning it at the same time. But don't be too rough, otherwise you may tear it. The thinner you get the membrane, the better. It's kind of like making a miniature pizza. If the membrane is too thick in the middle, it'll rise up as it bakes, and it'll push the filling out, and it just won't look very good then. There are a bunch of different shapes you could do actually. You could roll the dough out into an oval shape, pipe the filling on and seal it in, or you could roll it out to a round shape, spread the filling on one side of the dough, and then fold it over. I'll leave those experiments up to you. After stretching out the dough, get your egg yolk and milk glaze and brush it on there. Just look at that color, it's electric orange. It is thanks to this that the dough developed that dark, rich crust. There's really no need to brush the middle of the dough, but I wanted to use up the whole glaze, that's why I did it. Okay, next grab the filling, whether you're using a piping bag or a spoon doesn't matter, just distribute it evenly between the buns. And as I'm recording this, another savory filling came to mind. Curd cheese, egg white, dill and smoked salmon. If you do decide to adjust this recipe or try different shapes or whatever, please let me know down in the comments how it turned out. Okay, after filling in the dough, you can go the extra step and use a spatula to even out the filling to make it look all nice and neat. But that's not necessary of course, they'll still taste the same. Okay, these babies are finally ready for the oven, so let's get them in there. They'll take around 25 minutes to fully bake. If you want them slightly lighter in color, you can pull them out after 20 minutes. I left mine to bake until they're quite dark, and I do quite like this look. After getting them out the oven, leave them to cool down, ideally on a rack. Get the coffee on whilst they're cooling down, and then tuck in. That is how you make little Eastern European style curd cheese buns. This is another remake of an old recipe I posted a couple years ago. I've been having a great time remaking a bunch of recipes. Kneading bread dough is a waste of time and energy in my opinion. So we're making no knead everything, because obviously it works. And once again we've proved it. These little buns are awesome. They have a unique and beautiful look, with that dark crust contrasting the light filling in the middle. The dough is soft, slightly sweet, the filling is very moist, and those plump raisins add to that even more. They make for a perfect coffee time treat. If you do have a bit of a sweet tooth, and you do like those enriched bakes, head over to the enriched dough playlist. Don't forget that you can get early access videos by clicking the join button on my channel, and if you have watched this far, please give me a thumbs up. So what do you think of this recipe? What do you think of using curd cheese in baking? Let me know down in the comments. For more videos like this one, click over here. Subscribe to the channel, click right here. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.